The grand chamber of Galactic concordance smelled faintly of ozone, roasted meat, and political arrogance. Marble columns shaped like the claws of extinct beasts curled upward around a dome of pulsing light. There were 200 species present, most draped in robes, chitin, or the mechanical equivalent of smugness. Laughter bounced off translator drones and political facades alike. At the edge of the banquet floor, sipping tea with lemon from a porcelain cup she brought from Earth, sat Ambassador Kira Roger. She looked ordinary. That was her trick. Clad in standard Earth diplomat gray, with her dark hair in a tidy braid and a pin bearing the Earth Union crest, a crescent and star cradled by olive branches. She was easy to miss among the more elaborate beings, tentacled, scaled, silicon-based, scent-communicating. They paid her little attention. A female from a prey species, they assumed. Earth's diplomats always had a strange softness to them, cordial, curious, far too generous with their smiles. She smiled now, watching as the Abraxian delegate choked slightly on a fermented beetle. Across the chamber, High Castellan Drazen of the Ferric Empire delivered his toast. We welcome our new friends, the Terrans, to our grand collective. May their stay be productive, peaceful, and above all, instructive. Scattered chuckles. Polite claps. Kira dipped her head, her fingers curling slightly around her teacup handle. She did not drink again. The Ferric were an old power in the Empire, loud, heavily militarized, and fond of euphemisms. Instructive, in this context, meant, you will learn your place. That sentiment, unspoken but thoroughly shared, was carved into every interaction since Earth's induction into the Galactic Order. Kira responded with the usual, we are honored to contribute in any way we can. Humanity values peace above all. That line always landed well. Of course you do, murmured Minister Clenvar, a gelatinous creature who communicated with subharmonic sighs and a translator perched like a parrot on his hoverplate. Species, so fragile, usually do. More laughter. Not from Kira. Her smile was polite, empty. A Parnaxi steward offered her a plate of steamed spike fruit, which she declined with a nod. No, thank you. My stomach's not made of tungsten. Another soft round of laughter. This time, the joke had been hers. Deflection was an earth art. Self-deprecation disarmed even the most suspicious mind. But she was watching. Every voice, every facial twitch, every data feed, filtered through the ocular lens embedded in her left eye. She tracked movement patterns, emotional spikes, environmental scans. And when the message arrived, coded in the form of an innocuous flicker in the tea's surface, resonating with the micro-vibrations of her cup, she knew, before her hand even reached her lap, to retrieve the silent comm. The file was small, efficient, data fragmented for plausible deniability. She tapped her thumbprint. And read. Human Colony, Aurelia 9. Skirmish initiated by unauthorized Ferric soldiers. Local defense stood down. 2 civilians killed during evacuation delay. No reparations filed. Civilian names, Sophia Roger. Lyra Roger. Age 6. Identical twins. Children of Ambassador Kira Roger. Kira blinked once. A slow, careful inhale. Oh, she said. The steward, still at her side, tilted his head. Ambassador. Delicious tea, she replied. The steward drifted on. Across the chamber, the Ferric delegation received a private comm, General Vusk, a predator species with layered eyes and metallic jaw plating, grunted in annoyance, and closed the alert without reading. Empire bureaucracy had trained him well. Most such updates were beneath his interest. By the time the banquet ended, the deaths of 2 human children had been filed, time-stamped, and archived as acceptable wartime loss. No apologies were issued. As expected, Kira stood calmly, the cup still warm in her hand. She approached the Ferric table with an elegant, predator's stillness. General Vusk, she said, voice smooth as honey spilled on glass. The general turned. He disliked speaking to humans directly. Ambassador. I received word of an unfortunate incident. A human outpost. Aurelia 9. Vusk shrugged. A minor border conflict. I'm sure your people understand. These things happen. Kira tilted her head. Yes, they do. They were children, she added, so softly it passed like wind between curtains. Collateral, said Vusk, picking at his roast with a claw. We did not know they were notable. Kira smiled. Then she laughed. It was the laugh of a tired woman, a tired mother, warm, familiar. It echoed slightly, drawing curious glances. No, she agreed. You didn't. There was a long silence. I hope, she said, laying a hand on his shoulder in a gesture of Earth custom, you'll excuse me. I have to make preparations. For what? He asked. Her fingers gripped slightly. Not hard. Just enough to make his skin prickle. Morning, she said. Then turned and walked away. A week later, the incident was already old news in the halls of Empire Power. There were riots on Sothra Prime, trade disputes with the Celadrex Consortium, and the impending elections in the Heliox Clade. Politics moved quickly, but not as quickly as death. Kira's ship, a private Earth diplomatic cruiser, requested docking at Outpost Zerona under the pretext of formal incident review. Standard procedure. The Ferric approved the request without attention. Outpost Zerona was a moonside base, a minor military post overlooking the Aurelia sector. It housed 312 soldiers, 2 intelligence officers, and 1 bloated administrator who rarely left his gravity couch. Kira disembarked with 1 small bag. The commanding officer, Lieutenant Grask, was a lizard-like humanoid with ceremonial medals and the suspicion common to those used to covering up problems. Ambassador, he said, greeting her with a practiced smirk. We regret the situation, but surely this could have been handled remotely. Kira handed him a small file. I prefer to meet people face to face. It's a human trait. Grask thumbed through it. You want to see the logs, autopsy data, interview witnesses. I want to look them in the eye, she said, and ask one question. Grask shifted uncomfortably. Very well. We'll cooperate. Of course you will. Kira smiled again. Her quarters were small but clean. A single bed, desk, and mirror. She placed her bag on the floor and locked the door. Then she removed her jacket and began to unwind her braid. From within the lining of her bag, she pulled out a roll of silk cloth. Inside it, knives. Thin. Balanced. Blades blacker than shadow. Edges shimmered with molecular vibration. Her fingers brushed across the hilts, like someone remembering old music. She stripped to her undersuit. The tattoos across her arms looked like decorative script to most, stylized Earth calligraphy. But each line marked a kill, a city destabilized, a regime inverted from within. Each one was earned. Her daughters' names were not yet inked. That would come later. The first interview was scheduled for morning. She arrived early. The soldier, Private Thal, was lean and smug, with the bad posture of someone confident in his position. They were in the way, he said after minimal prompting. Look, it wasn't personal. We gave warnings. They didn't move fast enough. You people breed so slowly, can't expect us to. Kira leaned forward slightly. Thal smirked. What? You gonna cry? No, Kira said. Her smile was razor thin. You already did that for me. Later that night, Thal was found dead in the barracks. Official report. Self-inflicted disembowelment. Grask frowned at the datapad. That doesn't make sense. He seemed troubled, Kira offered. Grief does strange things to the mind. Another soldier went missing the next day. Then an officer turned up with half her memories erased. No footage. No signs of struggle. No trace. Outpost Zerona began whispering. The human wasn't sleeping. She was watching. Then came the storm. A localized AI failure rippled through the outpost systems. Security doors jammed. Climate controls surged. Mechs malfunctioned. One plasma turret rotated randomly and fired into the mess hall ceiling during lunch. Grask snapped. Ambassador, we request you leave immediately. This is no longer safe for diplomatic presence. I agree, she said. You should evacuate. He blinked. Excuse me. You should run. Now. He raised a weapon. Her teacup fell from her hand and shattered. When the alarm klaxon screamed, it wasn't because of an invasion. It was her. She moved like fog, like a fable. They couldn't pin her down. She didn't use guns. She used fear. Doors locked behind her. Lights failed above her. Sentries turned and shot their own men. In the command center, Grask watched camera feeds one by one go black. Then one flickered on, showing the hallway outside. She stood there, perfectly still. She raised her eyes to the lens. "You killed them," she said. "Now I've come to return the favor." A plasma explosion rocked the base. By morning, 47 soldiers were dead. The rest had fled. In the wreckage of the outpost, on a wall scorched by fire and blood, someone later found writing in a jagged Earth dialect. "You should have known. We tell stories about her to scare our children into behaving. You gave her a reason to come back." Empire officials panicked. Emergency meetings were called. But no one knew where she'd gone. Kira Roger vanished without record. Her name was wiped from Earth's diplomat roster. Her credentials revoked. All on paper. Behind closed doors in the council chambers of Earth, one official asked the question aloud. "Do we pull her back?" The response was simple. "She's already in motion. Let the galaxy learn what humans remember when our children are murdered." And far away, beneath the stars, a woman sat by a fire on a desolate moon, humming a lullaby in Old Russian. She poured tea for 2 small cups and placed them on the ground beside her. Then she vanished into the dark. The Empire's silence was not fear. Not yet. It was arrogance. When news of Outpost Zerona's internal disruption filtered through official channels, it was swiftly classified as a systemic malfunction coupled with localized hysteria. The death toll, confirmed at 61, was marked as unfortunate but unrelated to foreign influence. A few disciplinary reshufflings. A technical audit scheduled. The name Kira Roger, if mentioned, was always followed by a bureaucratic shrug. Unstable. A grieving mother. One admiral noted with disinterest. Tragic, but not tactically relevant. Yet, an unease curled beneath the Empire's stomach plating. Unacknowledged. Denied. But it grew. Kira reappeared on record precisely 19 days later, when she requested clearance to speak before the Empire's High Council regarding human grievances. The request was formal, diplomatic, and impossible to deny without breaking code. The Ferrec relented, out of pride more than protocol. The council chamber was larger than most moons, suspended in geostationary orbit above the galactic capital. Delegate pods hovered like thrones of judgment, drifting in ordered concentric circles. Ambient light glowed in tones calibrated to be universally neutral, so no species would be favored. Every motion was choreographed. Every second belonged to order. Then Kira entered, and the center of gravity shifted. She wore no armor, no makeup, just the same Earth diplomat's attire she'd worn at the banquet, now pressed neat, the color of iron turned gray with age. Her braid was tighter, her face still kind, still quiet, but something in her eyes had altered. The softness had hardened into elegance. No grief was visible now, only calculation. The chamber quieted as her pod glided to center. Kira inclined her head. "Thank you for hearing me." Delegate Clenvar, still gelatinous and vaguely condescending, vibrated through a speaker. "We regret your losses, Ambassador. But it is our understanding justice was pursued." "Yes," Kira said gently. "Your understanding is incorrect." A low murmuring buzzed through the chamber. Alien species whispered, translated, sizzled through interpreters. Ferrec Admiral Vusk leaned forward. "Are you accusing the Empire of wrongdoing?" "No," she smiled. "I am informing you of the consequences." Vusk scoffed. "Is that a threat?" "Never. I don't make threats, Admiral." She folded her hands. "I offer conclusions." She was dismissed within the hour. Respectfully, but firmly. Earth's representative body issued a statement urging de-escalation. All signs pointed to resolution. That night, the Imperial Data Core, untouched for centuries, guarded by AI architecture considered impervious, suffered a breach. Not stolen, not destroyed, just rearranged. The Empire's economic priorities were subtly shuffled. Resources rerouted. Warships recalled. Entire dossiers scrambled so names swapped faces, and criminal records bled into noble lineages. No system detected intrusion. But every loyal officer knew this was sabotage. Still, the official stance remained denial, until the Ferric High Admiral woke to find his fleet's command uplink rerouted through a derelict outpost, one scheduled for demolition a decade ago. The derelict was designated Zerona. Then, finally, fear stirred. Kira's name was flagged across the Empire. She was labeled as an Earth rogue, a known threat, sanctioned for capture or elimination. No one told Earth. Earth already knew. Kira Roger, known internally as Agent Yaga, had gone black. She next appeared on Oranac 6, a trading moon considered irrelevant except for its strategic communications nexus. Security feeds showed her entering a local tea shop at 14:03 Standard Time. At 14:05, all power failed across the moon. By 14:07, the communications array had been rerouted to broadcast on all frequencies. The footage began with silence. Kira sat alone at a table. Steam rose from a simple cup. Then she spoke. "You killed my daughters," she said. "Then you tried to forget them." The feed panned slowly across the table, two tiny cups placed beside her, untouched. "You've mistaken kindness for cowardice, peace for submission. Humanity has been polite because we remember the weight of destruction, because we prefer not to stain new soil with old blood." She smiled, "But we always remember how." And then the feed cut to static. By the time Empire forces arrived, she was gone. 3 ships were missing from the dockyard. No alarms had triggered. No tracking systems registered movement. Commanders raged. Theories proliferated. But none could explain the growing list of coincidental disruptions. Communications failures, dead officers, sudden suicides, rogue AIs, vaporized patrols. A whisper returned to the Empire's ears, old and forgotten. Baba Yaga walks again. A children's story. A human myth. Translated poorly, often misunderstood. The witch in the woods, with iron teeth and a house that walks on chicken legs. She steals children, they said. She eats the wicked. No one remembered the version where she had daughters of her own. An emergency meeting convened on Ferric Prime. The room held warlords, governors, intelligence lords. The air was thick with indignation and the sour taste of mounting fear. "This human cannot have done this alone," growled General Vusk. "She must have assistance. Earth is hiding something." "Should we retaliate?" asked another. "With what?" snapped Admiral Learn. "She's crippled half our early warning systems without firing a single shot." "She's a saboteur," another insisted. "Just a clever killer." "She's something worse," said a soft voice. It came from Counselor Vree, an elder species with crystalline skin that refracted light into quiet prisms. "She is a mirror." Silence followed. Vree continued. "You look at her and see what you want. A diplomat, a mother, a human. You listen to her speak and hear submission. And when she smiles, you forget to be afraid." Vusk stood. "I will end this." He launched his flagship, the Conviction, within the hour, escorted by 2 destroyers and an intelligence probe. His destination, an Earth listening post on the edge of neutral space, known to be one of Kira's old assignments. A symbolic show of force, a message. When his fleet dropped out of hyperspace, they found the station abandoned. Not destroyed, just quiet. Too quiet. They docked. Vusk boarded first. The interior was pristine, polished. Lights flickered warmly. The station seemed to breathe. Then came the scent. It was faint, herbal, something sweet, acidic. Tea. A single table sat in the central chamber. 1 cup. Steam still curling. No sign of heat source. Beside it, a small box. He opened it. Inside was a file, printed on actual paper. It contained names, officers, warlords, governors. The file ended with a single sentence. "We are not here to conquer. We are here to correct." Then the walls exploded. None of the fleet survived. Their final transmission, a silent image of Vusk's face twisted in stunned recognition, was retrieved later by salvage crews. No data remained. Just ash, silence, and the lingering smell of lemon and iron. In the following days, the Empire lost control of 3-star systems. Not through war, but through defection. The planet's populations, tired of tyranny, eager for something else, requested protection from Earth. Earth responded with an old phrase. We are not at war. We are responding to tragedy. Behind closed doors, Empire leaders began issuing contingency orders. A bounty was placed on Kira Rogers' head. An elite kill team was assembled, mixed species, trained in counterinsurgency, diplomacy, assassination, interface tactics. They were called the Whisper Fong. They found her on Genthra, a shadow world cloaked in constant dusk. Or rather, she let them find her. They surrounded her in a canyon pass. High rocks, 3 snipers, 2 heavy assault mechs, cloaked drones, full recon. She walked into the center of a kill zone, arms behind her back. Unarmed. The leader, an Aganari veteran with nerve-laced bone armor, stepped forward. Ambassador Roger. I haven't been that in some time, she said. We are here to escort you to a tribunal, alive or dismembered. Of course, she said, voice light. May I speak before you fire? The commander signaled pause. She stepped closer. Kira's eyes were cold stars. Her voice, a lullaby dressed in silk and steel. You think I do this for vengeance? You're wrong. She paused, then took a slow step forward. I do this to teach. You've grown lazy in the shadow of your power. You confuse hierarchy with morality. But humans, we remember fire. We remember famine. We remember watching our gods burn and thanking them for the warmth. One of the snipers shifted. Kira's smile widened. You thought we were prey. We only pretended to be. Then the sky shattered. Not literally, but to the Whisper Fong, it might as well have. Satellites above detonated. Drones fell dead. The mech seized and turned on each other. The pass filled with a synthetic fog, Earth nanotech, invisible to Empire sensors. One by one they vanished. By the end, only the commander remained, bleeding, coughing in the dust. Kira knelt beside him. We were never looking for war, she whispered. You gave it to us. All we've done since is return your kindness. Then she stood. The wind lifted her coat. The canyon echoed with silence. Back on Earth, her status was updated one final time. Code designation, Baba Yaga. Status, active. Objective, correction. In the Empire's most secure databanks, a pattern was forming. Dozens of redacted files, systems marked under review. Entire populations suddenly labeled provisionally allied to Earth. They began to see it. The trap. Kira Roger had not gone rogue. She was a weapon, and Earth had fired her with full intent. The galaxy was a chessboard, and she had just removed the queen. But her smile, when they saw it again in one final intercepted feed, remained calm. Tell the galaxy, she said, standing before a flagless backdrop. Humanity did not begin this, but we will be your conclusion. The screen went black, and so did hundreds of stars. There was no warning, no sirens, no countdowns, no heroic soundtracks of impending doom. Just a blinking cursor on a screen inside Command Node 7A of the Ferric Central Systems core that suddenly stopped blinking. Then it began to type. Shush. She's here. Administrator Havak's second heart skipped a beat. He stared at the terminal, then jabbed at the comms. Security, I need an immediate. The lights died. Then the breathing started. It wasn't real. Not audible in any technical sense. But every sentient in that tower would later swear they felt the air thicken and pulse, as if a presence had inhaled the world around them and refused to exhale. The soundless vacuum of expectation. The silence between screams. It was the only moment left before the Empire fell. Havak stumbled into the emergency override corridor, clawing at retinal scanners that suddenly refused to recognize him. As he slammed his palm against the door, the hallway monitors flickered on. Only one feed. She was walking. Kira moved down corridor C with neither haste nor hesitation. Her shadow bent around corners before her. Behind her, doors hung open like mouths frozen mid-scream. There were no alarms. There was no chaos. There was only her. Havak, like many, had thought the stories exaggerated. A rogue agent with a vendetta. Some terrifying but localized threat. He had even said just 2 days ago, during a dinner meeting, "She's just one woman." Now, he realized the truth. She was never just anything. She was absence made manifest. A precision bomb shaped like mercy. Security bots deployed. They rolled out from concealed panels and locked onto her figure. They calculated trajectories. They initiated lethal protocol. She tilted her head slightly. Every unit dropped instantly, their cores melting from within. Not overloaded, not fried, rewritten. Kira stepped over their cooling corpses like puddles in the rain. In Sublevel 5, a panic lockdown was initiated. 20 elite soldiers sealed themselves inside a titanium-shielded safe room. It had food for a month, air for 2, weapons for a war. They lasted 13 minutes. Not because she broke through. Because she didn't have to. Each of them began to see things. One heard her whispering his childhood fears. Another saw his own hands rotting before him. One shot himself before his own eyes turned to glass. She never touched them. She made them remember. The trick wasn't violence. The trick was silence. Anticipation. The stillness of the blade before it falls. The shadow behind the smile. She had learned long ago that screams were predictable. But silence? Silence amplified imagination. And the mind was always crueler than any weapon. She reached the command hub and paused. The door was open. Inside stood Director Solon, her voice hollow with forced authority. "Ambassador Roger, you're violating." "I'm not an ambassador," Kira said. "Not anymore. Earth will not support this." They already did. Solon reached for the override. Kira simply raised her hand. Not fast. Not threatening. Every system in the room shut down. Consoles bled sparks. Holograms flickered and died. "You killed my children," Kira said softly. "You tried to erase them." "They were," Solon started. "Say it," Kira whispered. The director hesitated. "Say it," Kira said again, stepping closer. "Collateral," Solon muttered. Kira smiled sadly. "Then so are you." A single breath later, Solon was gone. No violence. No blood. Just gone. Her data signature wiped. Her existence folded out of relevance. Even the cameras forgot her face. The galaxy's most secure military facility fell in 4 hours. It would take the Empire another 32 before they realized it. When they did, they screamed into empty comms. They called ships that no longer had crews. They pinged satellites that now orbited alien suns. One species, the Ret Hari, began to pray. Not to their gods, but to Kira. Another tried to bargain. They sent an envoy to Earth. They were received kindly, with warm hands and practiced smiles. Tea was served. Biscuits offered. But when they asked if the stories were true, the Earth diplomat, a young man named Ellis, only smiled. "Ms. Roger," he said, "she's not a story. She's a correction." The envoy asked what would make her stop. Ellis stirred his tea. "We warned you once. You laughed. Now she's rewriting the lesson plan." And still she moved. Her next step was not strategic, it was symbolic. She walked alone into the Ferric Royal Citadel. Not snuck, not cloaked, not hidden. She walked through the front gates at midday. The guards hesitated. She nodded once. They dropped their weapons and sat down. Inside, the royal court panicked. Emergency lockdown initiated. Automated defenses deployed. Kira passed through them like wind through cobwebs. She found the High Chancellor trembling on his throne. "Please," he whispered. "Please don't." She tilted her head. "Do you know their names?" He blinked. "My daughters," she said. "Do you know them?" "Sophia," she said, stepping onto the dais. "Lyra." They were 6. "I'm sorry." "No," Kira said gently. "You're just late." She did not kill him. Not directly. She took his voice. For the rest of his life, Every word he tried to speak turned into the sound of his own war declarations. Then she left. A child standing in the corridor saw her go. The child did not scream. She bowed. Kira bowed back. The news spread faster than anything the Empire had ever seen. Governors resigned. Armies mutinied. Border worlds declared neutrality or pledged allegiance to Earth, not through threats or diplomacy, but through fear. Reverence. Some called her saint. Some spirit. Most called her death. And still the question haunted them. How? How could one human do all this? They didn't understand the math. Kira Roger was not one person. She was the whisper in the code, the poison in the treaty, the second blade. Everywhere she stepped, something changed. A code rewritten, a node corrupted, a line of propaganda rewritten to spell out truth in invisible ink. She'd prepared for this for years. Not for revenge, for message. Every outpost she'd served, every treaty she'd signed, every smile she'd offered, each had planted a seed. Quiet, subtle, overlooked. Now, the harvest had begun. But not everyone fled. A final team was assembled, volunteers, zealots, fanatics. They found her on a derelict moon base where atmosphere had long since fled. No one knew why she was there. No records showed its relevance. They struck fast. Precision. Fire. Silence broken. She didn't resist. She let the sedative take her. She let them bind her wrists. She watched them with a curiosity bordering on affection. One of them asked, "Do you know what this place is?" She smiled. "You will." They returned to their ship with her sealed in a containment field. Triple locked. Scanners layered. All protocols followed. In the chamber, she sat quietly, humming. One by one, the team disappeared. The last to go was the captain. He entered her cell, weapon drawn. "Where are they?" he demanded. Kira looked at him. For the first time, her face cracked. It wasn't anger. It wasn't malice. It was mourning. "You're still asking the wrong questions," she said. He fired. The bolt turned to petals mid-air. She stood. "You think I'm here to destroy the Empire," she said. "I'm not." He backed away. "I'm here to end the question." He screamed as the room folded inward, pixel by pixel, until nothing remained but her shadow against the wall. Back on Earth, Ellis received confirmation. A file titled Phase 3 Complete blinked once on his screen. He leaned back and poured himself a drink. They had unleashed her. She had finished the first sweep. Now came the second. Kira was not about revenge. She was about balance. Justice was a scale. They had tipped it. She was the hand that pushed back. In her final message before the blackout, she spoke once more. To the galaxy. To the Empire. To anyone who had ears. You thought you knew humanity. You saw our smiles. Our art. Our dreams. But dreams are where monsters learn to walk. And humans? We do not forget the sound of crying children. We do not forgive the silence that followed. She looked into the camera. Then she said their names again. Not for vengeance. For memory. For legacy. The feed cut. The stars dimmed. And in the vast quiet of space, the Empire learned the truth. There is nothing more terrifying than a human with nothing left to lose. The Empire was silent now, not in the way a battlefield goes quiet when the shooting stops, but in the way a cathedral falls mute after the gods abandon it. Whole sectors had gone dark, not due to annihilation, but disobedience. Government systems failed to respond. Civil officers had gone into hiding. The holoscreens, once proud with proclamations of power, now played nothing but snow and whispers. A phrase lingered everywhere, etched into walls and whispered in markets. The Earth Clause. No one could find the original document. Some said it was myth. Some said it was buried deep inside a treaty Earth had slipped into the fine print of its galactic induction agreement. The kind of clause no one reads because they assume humans, those strange, smiling newcomers, could never pose a real threat. Whatever it was, it had now been triggered, and the results had rewritten the rules of existence. In the battered remains of the Empire's central authority chamber, what was left of its leadership sat sleepless and shrinking beneath the weight of their own confusion. There were 9 of them, now, out of an original 72. They gathered around a dim tactical projection, as if proximity might restore certainty. She was supposed to be an ambassador, rasped the Zentari consul, whose compound eyes jittered with overclock stress. She wore the uniform. She wore the skin, muttered another. But the soul, we never saw that coming. You're all asking the wrong question, said Counselor Vree. As always, her crystalline skin caught what little light remained and scattered it across the chamber like shards of memory. She was the only one who'd never raised her voice in anger, not since Kira had first spoken before them. She looked down at the scorched floor beneath their feet. The question isn't what is she. The question is why did we let her become necessary? Before anyone could respond, the room flickered. Then the lights cut out entirely. All across the sector, similar flickers occurred. A subtle, synchronized event, like the breath between notes in a symphony's crescendo. It happened in diplomatic halls, in military fortresses, on civilian ships docked in neutral space. All screens glowed with the same soft image. A pair of teacups, one large, two small. Then her voice. I am not the disease, Kira said calmly. I am the fever. The body's desperate attempt to burn out rot. Every official with a conscience felt the heat of her words press against their ribs. You mistook kindness for limitation. But humanity does not extend its hand because we are harmless. We extend it because we remember what it means to burn the world down, and we would rather not. In the dark, someone whispered, we were warned. Her voice answered, you were. Then came the sound of breathing again. Not hers, not anyone's. The sound of a galaxy drawing breath, preparing for something it could no longer ignore. The Empire's last admiral, other Relac of the Koran arm, activated his secure comm. He still had a fleet. A fraction of what once was, but it could be enough. He issued a final command. If this is war, then let's make it a war. Find her. Find Earth. We will strike them down. The fleet never launched. Instead, each vessel received a different transmission, tailored to each crew, each captain. Some showed footage from Aurelia 9. The twin girls, laughing as they painted stars on the wall of a schoolhouse. Others showed intercepted messages, cold orders from Empire brass to contain the incident, with clear apathy toward human casualties. And on a few screens, there was only Kira, sitting in silence, looking straight ahead, waiting for them to feel it. One by one, ships powered down. Crews refused orders. They wept, some of them quietly. Some recorded apologies. Others walked out of airlocks. By the end of the hour, the fleet was no longer a fleet. It was a confession scattered among stars. At Earth Command, Ellis stared at the screen as reports flooded in. It's over, said one analyst. Ellis shook his head. No, it's understood. They didn't cheer. They didn't celebrate. Earth had not won a war. They had ended an illusion. In the quiet room, Ellis turned toward the ancient archive terminal and pulled up a file long buried beneath layers of encryption. The Earth Clause, actual language excerpt. In the event of unwarranted aggression against Earth civilians, particularly minors, without diplomatic recourse, the Terran Union reserves the right to deploy autonomous correction agents, irrevocably and without restriction. Any harm done to Terran children voids all treaties. The responding agent shall operate outside bureaucratic jurisdiction, with full planetary clearance, until balance is achieved. This clause is non-negotiable, non-rescindable, and eternal. There was no signature, just an old timestamp. Ellis leaned back, drained. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same again, because now they knew. Humans didn't scream. They waited. And when they stood, they did so with tea in one hand and the memory of their dead in the other. Back in deep space, Kira sat beneath a broken sky. The planet was abandoned, a place once used for weapons testing, long since written off as uninhabitable. But the stars looked the same from here. She poured 3 cups of tea. Sophia would have liked the way the steam curled. Lyra would have asked if the stars could be caught in a jar. Kira spoke softly. I'm sorry it took me so long. I was supposed to keep you safe. There was no answer, except the gentle hiss of cooling metal and the hum of distant systems she had silenced long ago. She reached into her coat and retrieved a vial. Inside it, 2 grains of white sand. Ash. The last remnants of the outpost where they died. She tipped the vial and let them fall into the tea. Then she drank. Earth's president appeared beside her, holographically, cloaked in diplomatic light. "You've done what we needed," she said. "No," Kira replied. "I did what they made me." The president hesitated. "They're afraid of us now." "They should be," Kira said. "But not because of me." "Then why?" Kira stood, looked up. "Because next time it won't be me. It will be someone worse. Someone without a family, without a reason to hold back." She turned. "I was merciful." And she vanished again. In the centuries that followed, the clause would never be invoked again. It didn't need to be. The galaxy remembered. On backwater planets, children were told bedtime stories about a lady with quiet steps and iron eyes. On distant trade routes, convoys halted if a Terran ship passed nearby, not out of fear, but out of respect. And in the Empire's ruined archive, the name Kira Roger appeared once every cycle, carved by someone unknown. Always the same phrase. She remembered. And so must we. Because no one forgets the silence between screams. Not once they've heard it. And not after Earth teaches them to listen.